Celestial currency. Welcome, evolutionaries. Have I got a treat in store for you today? This is like crazy exciting for me because this information has not been shared on this planet for at least 6,000 years. And I know you've heard me say that before, but seriously, the universe is unfolding because of where we are within our evolutionary process and how we are progressing through time-space to unlock different components of the game. And it's crazy exciting. And for me, it's actually more than just crazy exciting because with all the information that I have been given over the last 7 years, this is like the master key. This is the one thing that really solidifies as the true heart of everything. So now I know exactly where to focus and how everything, every piece of the puzzle fits together. And to me, that's crazy exciting. And not only do I know where and how the puzzle fits together, I understand what's beyond the puzzle. So it's like the sailors of old sailing off the edge of the earth. They had no idea what was going to happen to them when they went past what they knew, right? Or they perceived they're going to fall off the earth. They didn't want to fall off the earth. But they didn't know. But now I've got a glimpse of what is beyond because, remember, my motto, see beyond. So my guides were very kind to me and allowing me to unpackage these two components over the last 2 weeks. Because remember, what I had said in my last video was that in 2012, the gates for all that is were cracked open, if you will. And so the energy started flowing in. And then, of course, in December of last year, 12/21, as a matter of fact, the gates were sprung wide open. And now for those who are attuned to the information, to the flow of consciousness, one can, just like a radio, and dial in. And this is what the Law of Attunement is all about. It's about the expansion of consciousness. It is a law that exists below the line and above the line, where most of the laws today, like Law of Attraction and others, exist solely below the line. And so today I am crazy excited to talk to you about celestial currency. So what is celestial currency? Well, if you think about here on Earth, right? I mean, currency is the term for money. So how are we typically judged? Well, we're judged by how much money we have, right? So, we got a bunch of greenbacks, and I know that other countries have like really cool colors of money and things like that, or there's gold and different things, which gold is a completely different thing because gold actually has its own DNA. Did you know gold has its own DNA? But that's a completely different video. But currency, when you step off of Earth, if you will, once you graduate Earth school, this is irrelevant. But celestial currency is how the whole universe judges who we are. This is and judges is not really a great word, but sees the value of our contribution. It's probably a better way to say it, to the entire universe. So what is celestial currency, at least within a biological form? Well, it is the infinite attunement of consciousness with DNA. So there are spiritual teachers out there talking about DNA activations. It doesn't work that way. What happens is, as you expand consciousness, you actually attune the consciousness, or DNA, I should say, to the level of consciousness that you are at, which is exciting because as we permeate, and I talked about permeate the ideals from the ether, and that's spelled A-E-T-H-E-R, we create this bioetheric entity, which is who we are. So we are living between the gate or the parallels of the etheric and the biologic. So that is who we are. But now we've lost our connection to the etheric. We've are limited and very like a drip in a drain or something. So now what I'm going to show you is how to open the gates. It's exciting to me because this is the missing puzzle piece, at least for me. And I'm going to go and do a whole series of this. This is going to be a foundation for a whole set of courses. And so for me, this is like super crazy exciting. So as we look at attuning consciousness with DNA, it is the way forward for us to graduate from Earth school. And again, you're not going to attract something. So again, when you look at the Earth laws, like Law of Attraction, they're all below the line. And what happens is you get trapped, and I'll talk a bit more about this, when you start focusing on these mortal type of laws that are below the line, you entrap yourself in these laws that prohibit you from expanding. And I'll give you a great example. So one of the things, and actually I've had several events like this, but one specific is, and I never really saw myself as a healer, but I made friends with some very high Reiki teachers, and I know nothing really about Reiki. I know a lot about energy, but I don't know anything about Reiki per se. And they're like, Joe, we got together and had a discussion, and we're going to make you a master Reiki teacher. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. I had no idea what it meant. So anyway, the ceremony did the symbols, encoded the symbols and things in my auric field and this and that. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then my guides, after they're like, okay, you're done with your ego thing? And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? Well, so what happens is I put myself into a bubble, if you will, because I had now attuned myself within the parameters, within this range, if you will, of only knowing this Reiki energy. So what I did is I had to dispel this Reiki energy. I had to dispel, and I didn't even not only dispel Reiki, I dispelled and released any connection to any and all energies that I had within this lifetime that would have entered me into any type of a contract. So that, because it's very simple, if you are contained by a specific mortal bound or earth bound energy, you can't go beyond Earth. It's just that simple. You're constrained. It's like running with a rubber band on you. You can only go too far, and then you'll get pulled back because you can't break through the momentum because you've got these energies, these energetics that are holding you back. So as we get into, and this is really cool, attuning consciousness with DNA, we're really focusing on the law of attunement. Hence, this is the gift that I was given to share with you. And the law of attunement is specifically focused on expanding the godforce, awakening the godforce within all of us. And that is just so crazy exciting to me to even think about the potential here now that I understand celestial currency. So if you think about the expansion, we are infinitely expanding who we are. So these are each attunements as we expand outward. And then so this is a rite of passage, if you will, as we continue to expand and we become more and more and more liberated from the physical, from all things and ties. Now we can still certainly play in the physical if we choose to, but now our options, if you will, are open to expand way beyond the potentiality of anything we ever could have imagined. Because once we pass this fringe, or this barrier, we go to this one. And so we're always continuing, and as my guides gave me, my initial mantra was to see beyond the edge, the fringe of what lies beyond what I could even have considered or conceivably thought about before. And as most of you know, I never thought about ever teaching spirituality or anything like this at all until my guides kind of gave me a nudge and I fell on my head, and it was like an initiation where I lived out of my body for quite some time. And then a Hopi Indian medicine woman who is just the most blessed, beautiful person on this world did what's called a soul retrieval, pulled me back and put me back in my body, and here I am today, teaching wacky, crazy stuff to everyone, which is really exciting to me. So as we look at expanding, so we've got different coordinates, if you will, as we expand through phi. So phi is a natural law of expansion. It's called the law of phi, which was shared with me, but it's commonly known as the law 1.68. And so as we expand harmonically, we actually go through what I call got excited, through what I call the harmonic scale, intersecting with different coordinates as we grow and expand our consciousness. So right now, 99.999% of human beings live and exist in this one point. So this is why our DNA has contracted within this game from 64. 64 is my understanding or understanding, is the original number of physical DNA strands we have. Today we have 2. Now, the cool thing about that is there are star seeds that are coming onto the planet, which are being born with 3. And so this is part of the way that some of the evil people on the planet are trying to limit that expansion by doing vaccines and other things, but that's a completely different video. But yes, these evil people were going to fail because we have entered into this full-on gate of expansion, and it's crazy exciting. So, getting back to being more than mortal, this is part of why I was talking about meditating in earlier videos in the etheric realm. So meditating outside the body, because what I've been able to do is create etheric DNA strands. So these etheric DNA strands connect me with the Creator, which allow me to tap into the ether and become this creative mechanism here on Earth, which allows me to share all this wild and crazy, wacky stuff with everyone, which hopefully you get some insight from. So if you do, I'd love just to hear a comment. Like, okay, Joe, your stuff is totally weird, out there, never heard it before. I love this stuff because it always fascinates me what's going to come through. So anyway, so as we expand, and we expand on the coordinates, because we talk about our vision and being able to see like less than 1% of the visual spectrum. But as we begin to open up, our optics open up, and we begin to see more, and then more, and then more. So the ability for us to really, again, expand our sight, which I call optics. And I love the word optics, and I spell it with a K because Sir Isaac Newton spelled it that way. And by the way, he's got this amazing scientific paper that he wrote called Optics. And it's one of my beliefs is help me understand partially where we are going is by reading true geniuses like Sir Isaac Newton. And what a lot of people don't know about Sir Isaac Newton, back in the day when he was alive, he was actually more known as an alchemist. As a matter of fact, his papers on alchemy are world famous, and yet nobody hears about that. Again, you've got to understand that the narrative has been controlled. And so part of what I am working on, as others around this planet are working on, is breaking through to the truth. And so it's a matter of, connecting the dots. But we'll get into more of that in a different video. So as we look at celestial currency, we are looking at, again, creating this ability to step and see beyond, to go beyond what we know. Because again, we now know that money, moolah, this stuff, doesn't work in, outside of Earth. So my suggestion is while you may be working to have this big house and everything else, you know what? If you don't have the celestial currency, with regards to who you are and how you are growing and developing, you're not going to be able to, I'll just say this, it'll be very challenging for you to move beyond Earth School, even within this amazing dynamic that's happening on Earth right now. So let me go to the next phase or the next topic or point, because during these last week or so, I was kind of like in a cave because I got so much information, but the 2 key points that I got, number 1 was celestial currency and attunement of the DNA with consciousness, and I got a glimpse, and this is really cool, of what is next. And what is next? For all of us. So what is next? Unlaws. Unlaws, you're like, Joe, unlaws, what the heck are unlaws? I'm glad you asked. Because unlaws really create this attunement with the one true God, with Source. And it's so exciting because we have to, when we step into this point where we have evolved the bioetheric nature of who we are with regards to consciousness and our DNA, we step into a whole new reality of what is called unlaws. And so unlaws would be like a monk, a master levitating. Well, that's impossible, right? Because he's now breaking the law of gravity. Well, there's no law of gravity. Once you surpass certain things, traditional, physical, mandated laws within a belief system, which stands for a BS system, a BS, that they no longer apply to you. And that's exciting to me. So as we just from a very point of from looking at it from this point of view, is as we begin to step into the Unlaws, we begin to activate, again, the God force, and we become creators. So remember, God creates. God does not attract. So those people that are stuck within the law of attraction, and again, I want to talk a little bit about law of attunement applies below the line and above the line. And so the law of attraction and other laws are strictly below the line. And what happens, and why is this important, is because when you are practicing, let's say, the law of attraction or something below the line, you are entrapping yourself in a mortal belief system, which is limiting your consciousness and your DNA, and I'm picking on the law of attraction, but the other laws as well. And because you are limiting this within the physical construct of that law, you have put a barrier in place to prohibit or stop or slow down dramatically your ability to evolve. And again, we're talking about evolution. We're not talking about ascension. Ascension is a false teaching, which I've talked about before. I'm not going to go into it now, but I think it's important to understand for the context of this video, this episode, because everything is based on evolution. We don't make this magical jump in DNA or consciousness. It is something that we have to be very thoughtful of, and I'll jump into that in just a second because I call it thought optics. And again, I think I mentioned that just a minute ago. So as we look at this and look at the bubble that we are trapped in, we get trapped again in this system. Now, I'll even go one step further because I've had 30, 40, I don't even know how many guides from angelics to gods come and visit with me and share with me pieces of the puzzle. And it's crazy. It's like I've got this great big puzzle board, and I get like a little piece. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm so excited. I wish they'd give it to me all at one time. And this is why, again, I'm so excited about celestial currency, is it is the master key to everything once you understand this. And I'm actually going to build a course on this. And this is actually one of the reasons I haven't built a course before, is because I didn't really understand what it was, what this master key was, that everything that was given to me that I've shared on these videos, what it all tied back to, and now I know. It's a celestial currency, which leads to winning the game, which is Unlaws. And again, I'm talking about mortal Unlaws with like levitating, and even masters, they don't attract money. They manifest, they create money. They hold their hand out and they say, I need this money for this food, and that money manifests. This is exactly what they do in the Himalayas in Tibet. These masters, they are simply amazing. The masters that live in Shambhala, I can't even pronounce, Shambhala, they have a need for nothing. They create. They have activated their celestial currency to such a stage where it's just a matter of imagination, but the imagination becoming a reality. So this is the law of reality. And remember, I talked about imagination. Within the word imagination, there are magi, which is the wise. And then as you create this incredible activation of the attunement of imagination, you are unstoppable with regards to the God force because there is no limit. So in other words, as you grow, the spigot keeps turning and opening up, and you are able to create, learn, and see more and create more. But it's all in harmony, which is why the term harmonic evolution. It's all in harmony with all there is in order to bring peace and goodness and joy. So what's next? So again, like I talked about, the master key being thought optics. And so what I wanted to just end this video on real quickly was talking about thought and how it interacts with the field. And I wrote it down here, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'll read it to you. So thought interacting within itself as a field interacts without interacting. Yet the field, knowing all that is happening within the construct of the field. So let me read that one more time. So thought interacting within itself as a field interacts without interacting, yet the field knowing all that is happening within the construct of the field. So what does that mean? It means that I am aware of all things, not just here in my house, in this room, but beyond this and beyond the stars, beyond the skies. I'm tapped into the etheric, but actually going beyond the etheric into the ether. That is the creation. It's the fifth element, which is the creation point of all things. All things emerge from this to have an experience because we exist in a mental universe. And that's actually an older term, but it's actually grown very fond of me because as I look at thought, but the mental universe itself, because without accessing let's say the universal mind, I'll try to simplify this real quickly, we have no idea what love is. We have no idea what emotion is, which is energy emotion, which is the expression of love. So as we look at the expression of love and the expansion of consciousness with regards to consciousness and DNA to create this celestial currency, we are now able at a much larger scale to be able to understand love beyond any mortal that could ever understand it. And this is exciting to me because as we enter 2021, and by the way, let me say something really about 2021. From a natural perspective, we have not actually entered 2021 yet. In the olden ancient times, the new year didn't actually start until the summer solstice. So we have, I think it's March 20th, which is actually when we begin the new year. But as we begin with these energies flowing, we are this amazing crop that is growing. And it's really exciting for me to share this with you to help you, to help you understand that we are this cosmic currency. So thinking beyond Earth and interacting with, say, extraterrestrials, because there are some, actually there's a lot, and they're waiting for us. They're waiting for us to graduate. So this celestial currency allows us to tap into the unlaws, and guess what? We can, I talked about levitation, but there's no, and there's actually writings of past masters that just vanish. And then they may come back or they may not. So where do they go to? Well, they may go to a different planet, a different world that is more suitable for their level of vibrational frequency. And this is like really, really exciting. Now, one of the things that I wanted to just kind of wrap this up with, because I wanted this to be more of a teaching episode, and because I'm going to try to start, instead of like just being grandiose and talking about a bunch of cool stuff, because it's cool to me. I hope it's cool to you. I put together this paper on an affirmation that I wrote, and I wanted to share it with you because I think it's powerful, and I'll put it down in the notes below this video. And let me know what you think, because this is I'm doing all of this to help everyone. And of course, you guys know I love you so much. It's just a matter of me sharing, and I love to hear how you apply it and what you get out of this and how you're going beyond the levels that you are. Because as I talked about, even in etheric meditation, I played with, when I first started, these boundaries. And once I realized these boundaries didn't exist because they were my own creation, I'm able to move beyond those boundaries of time and space. It's kind of like Neo in the Matrix. There is no spoon. So there is no limitation to who you can become. You are this infinite being that has access to the godforce. And now I've kind of given you this really cool way to dial in to cosmic current or celestial currency. It's really exciting. So let me read this to you. This is like really cool. So I affirm, within me are infinite powers seeking expression. In the past, because I did not know of their existence, for they have been stifled and suppressed. Now I will affirm my celestial thought force shall be called into activity and find perfect and full expression in my body, in the form of perfect health, in my life, in the form of success and achievement, in my heart, in the form of a mighty upwelling of joy and happiness. Now that I have discovered this hidden and inexhaustible storehouse of power and energy, my life, your life, is now transformed. Weakness gives place to strength, sorrow to happiness, morbidness to radiant joy, pessimism to divine optimism, despair to hope, failure to success, poverty to prosperity, sickness to health. Henceforth, only the highest good can come into my life. I declare this true. Now, by the power of celestial thought, I can't read my own writing. Now, by the power of celestial thought, I am allied with and joined to the infinite principle of God, and we have become one. Henceforth, for me, there is and can be no evil, only infinite good that resides within my God self. All evil is now cast out of my life because I am one with the infinite God. Henceforth, by thought optics, I control my life. For my life is the result and the effect of my thoughts. I now dwell in the house of the one true God. Gosh, I love that. I kind of wrote it, but but I hope that will resonate with you. And feel free to tweak it and make it your own. Like I said, I'll copy and paste this into the bottom of the video. I love you guys so much. And and just as a reminder, as you meditate, contemplating on these words, know the brain is delicate. And I've talked about rewiring the synapses before, and you can do this through your imagination. You can control exactly your thoughts to amplify the ability of your consciousness to expand. And I've hinted at that in other videos. So when you control the quickening of attaining your mind by developing your thought optics with the mind, the grand mind of Source, you control all things. So all things are open unto you. This is a way of affirmative prayer. And this is a way, and really all prayer should be affirmative, because when we and as we access our God self, we are affirming, and by affirming, we are creating. We are not asking. And so this is really important, and maybe I'll do something on some ancient Bibles or ancient texts that talk about ask and you shall receive. That is an improper statement. In earlier Bibles in the 1600s, that is not true. It's an affirmation. And so while the core languaging and coding of the Bible is true, there have been words changed in order to weaken our authority within the celestial forces. I know that's a lot. That's kind of crazy to think about, but it's important for me to share that with you. And I love you. So, and I want to share that because I love you guys. So please leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think about this affirmation. Celestial currency, isn't that cool? I love that, because now we're thinking, we're evolving, we're ready to create this celestial bank account that is beyond the scope of anything we ever conceived of as being mortal. And then, of course, unlaws. Unlaws, going beyond mortal, going above the line, going beyond what we ever would have considered as a mortal with regards to these mortal laws that have tied us down, have bound us to morality. Because again, within unlaws, there are ways to choose to heal thyself with just a thought, and live forever if you so choose. And it's just amazing once you understand how to cash in this celestial currency, once you have developed the resources to tie, again, consciousness and DNA together. It will be... it's an experience like no other. And I am just now putting it into practice. So I love you. Leave me your thoughts. And I just want to wish you a very happy new year, and I know things are crazy with the world right now, but stay focused on evolution, your evolution, on exactly what you need to do, meditating and affirming, not asking, but affirming who you are and who you will become. And actually, let me mention this real quick before I end, because I talk about dealing and interacting with your future self, not your higher self. That's, again, a false teaching. But your